with us on the SportsMax Zone. The West Indies camp has been calling for good vibes and positive energy as the team prepares for the first match of their ICC T20 World Cup defense against England on October 23 in Dubai. Good vibes and positive energy aren't just being requested from the fans, but also from journalists and analysts of the game. But where do good vibes and positive energy end? And where does actual hard, cold analysis begin? Chris Gayle's highly charged reaction to comments made about him by Windies fast-bowling great Sir Curtly Ambrose is one incident that perhaps exemplifies the mood in the Windies setup heading into Sunday's start of the tournament. So, we spoke about it briefly at the top, and now here we are again. It almost seems to be a plan of attack, because Chris Gayle's words are almost fighting words. Almost seems to be a plan of attack from the Windies through their players that, look, we're going to demand positivity around the team. We're going to demand a collegial sense of in it to win it and everybody happy, togetherness. And if we don't get that, we're going to make our feelings known, and make our feelings known strongly. And if that gets in the way of journalists practicing their craft and furthering their vocation, let it be. What say we?
I get that same sense. I was actually saying that the narrative started with Phil Simmons when he did his first press conference, because there were some things that he said, we need the backing of good vibes. So he started the discussion talking about good vibes. Then the next day it was Karen Pollard, and then again he was the one saying that, he doesn't want to talk about that anymore. He wants to focus on what we have to deal with at hand. He wants to move forward, good energy and everything. And then I think earlier today in the press conference then we had Chris Gayle talking about good vibes and keep your bad energy and all these different things. So I get a very common thread coming from everybody within the camp. So much so I'm starting to think that this was probably a team discussion, that's it. We're just killing everything with good vibes.
Well, it's understandable that they feel that way. The fact is, though, that, the outburst, I have to call it that, from Chris Gayle yesterday was appalling as far as I'm concerned. It is understandable that the players are under pressure. They know they are defending champions. They want to deliver for the fans. They want to deliver for themselves. And they will feel a little unsettled by criticisms coming their way. But they are sports stars. Every sports star has to deal with that. And quite frankly, in the context or the construct of Ambrose's comments, in no way, shape or form, in my opinion, warranted the blasting attack that he got from Chris Gayle.
And people are entitled to their own opinion, right? And as journalists, we ask the questions that we feel pertinent. The questions, George, that you ask on the show, I will probably never ask. Things that I ask, Lance will never ask. We all have different minds. So it's not like if we go in there with an agenda like, all right, today we're going to talk good vibes only. We go with whatever we feel pertinent, and what you think important may never be important to me.
Well, we're going to turn to a man now who I'm sure isn't drinking the Kool-Aid. Fazir Mohammed is over there in Trinidad and Tobago, I suspect. Fazir, have you gotten your Good Vibes membership card just yet, sir? Have you signed it?
Can I tell you something about that Good Vibes thing? Way back in 1991, about 6 years into the media game, I did a commentary on local radio about sending good vibes to the West Indies team then in Sharjah or somewhere that they were for a particular tournament. And I talked about, I actually believe that the good vibes will work and really bring out the best in the West Indies team. And over the many years, I've said a lot of nonsense. I've said a lot of stupidness. I've said a lot of foolishness. I've written a lot of nonsense over the years. But that stands out in my mind as one of the most dotish things I've ever said about this good vibes thing. Because essentially, if we really respect our role in the media, and I'm not too sure that many of us do, many of us see ourselves as either attention-seeking hatchet men and women or flag wavers and flag bearers because we want to identify with the sporting superstars because we are more fans than journalists. This whole good vibes thing is irrelevant. And the simple facts of the matter, and I think you've touched on it already, Mariah made that point. What did Curtly Ambrose say that was so offensive? He was merely stating quite obvious fact. But we talk so much about a COVID-19 bubble. We exist in a time now when personalities, be they sporting, be they entertainment, be they political, be they media, surround themselves with their own bubble. And anything that is perceived to be remotely negative or anything that is not effusive in praise, if not, we're not praising you to the high heavens, then that person has an agenda and needs to be cut down to size. So it's really more of the same in this particular instance.
The fact of the West Indies wanting to go into the tournament with a good mindset and to feel positive energy, because they have a right to want to feel positive energy. I don't think anybody can argue against that, Faz. But the way they seem to have gone, the extent they seem to have gone, as if they plotted an attack line and are trying to shut down journalists and are trying to demand good vibes, whichever way they may come across, if they come across as being boorish in that request or almost strong-handed in their request for that. Do you see it having a place in this current dynamic of interaction between journalists asking questions and sportsmen, athletes answering questions?
Well, we would like to think that there's a level of maturity on both sides, but the fact is there isn't. Because, again, we exist in this environment where it's either all positive or you are someone intent on pulling down, as in this case, the West Indies team, or specifically in the case of Chris Gayle. Because, again, do we even appreciate the role of the media? And that is a serious question, because it has to be argued that in many cases, if you want to stay involved in the media, if you want to stay involved in a particular sport, if you want to pursue your dreams in different elements of the media, you toe the party line by not saying certain things, by not highlighting certain things, and you'll find yourself being compromised. As to the specific issue of the West Indies, if the West Indies' fortunes at the World T20 hinge on good vibes, they should pack up and go home. Because essentially, what they are saying is extraneous matters make a difference. Look, these are professionals. These are grown men. They've played the game at the highest levels for many, many years. And you're telling me that what a few journalists might say, or what a few media people might say, or what a few fans might say, whether Twitter is exploding or whatever else, Instagram is on fire or whatever, that makes a difference to you actually going out there and doing what you are required to do in the world of sport. And yes, in that sense, they are the architects of their own situation, because in the same way they criticize and condemn, they spend half their waking lives there. So what do you want? And that's why I consider it in many respects, it's really irrelevant whether they are all upset and will turn their backs on which journalists or whatever journalists, or try to ban certain journalists or whatever from interviewing them or speaking to them. That is their business. A journalist, he or she, if you value your profession, you have a job to do. And you will also know if you're being unbalanced. You will also know if you're being unfair. If you've pulled out the long knife because I'm a Bajan and Jason Wood is from Barbados and I must defend my boy at the same time that I'm saying nothing but other situations. So it's a double-edged sword in many ways, but I don't really see it as that difficult to work out.
Yeah, we're up on the break and we're going to take the break. This smells to me like a management or communications consultant being called in and say, guys, you need to take charge of the narrative. You need to demand good vibes. Where there's a question you don't want to answer, ask for good vibes. Where there's a point raised that is a bit contentious, ask for good vibes. Where there's a question about your form and if you're in poor form, demand good vibes. We'll take a break. We'll come back with more. Back with us on the SportsMax Zone, talking with Fazir Mohammed and the team. It's all about good vibes and positive energy is what the West Indies players and the management staff, coaching staff especially, seem to be calling for. There was a joke off air asking whether or not good vibes is going to open the bowling for the West Indies at the T20 World Cup, or whether good vibes is going to bat at number 12. So we spoke about Chris Gayle and his reaction to what Curtly Ambrose said to Mason and Guest. There are other examples, though, of the players getting a bit antsy where criticism and critique is concerned, and any comment that is unfavorable from their perspective. We have another example, like this one, where the skipper, Pollard, asked by a journalist to clarify Darren Bravo's selection as part of the reserves for the tournament.
And I believe the chairman of selectors would have, give some clarity as to each and every individual, how they made the 50-man squad. And I think for me to go on that, nothing is going to change on that. And by me trying to give you clarity on that, the 15-man spot is still not going to change. So just like I've been saying before, and I'm personally speaking to you at this point in time, every time you have to ask a question, it's all about a individual or individuals as to why they've been selected. I believe sometimes as an individual, as a Caribbean person and a journalist at times, you need to sometimes try to support us as cricketers and give us that positivity rather than each and every time try to question the selection of an individual on a team. Be it Darren Bravo, be it Jason Mohammed, be it why Hetma is not playing. That has been the train of your questions ever since you have asked all these questions going forward for the past how many years? For the past year. So I'm not going to have any
Okay, thanks.
So you can ask somebody else that question.
Okay. Speaking on that particular part about support as well, I've seen some negativity, within the press, from our past players. And, it's very disappointing. We are in a World Cup and, we should be getting the full support from people like who actually play to represent West Indies and do well for West Indies, be negatives, before the tournament actually start. It's not a good look, and I'm speaking like Curtly Ambrose. I'm singling out Curtly Ambrose, one of y'all own. Curtly Ambrose is a person I have to respect, highly respected. Curtly Ambrose, came into West Indies team. Curtly Ambrose is such a fun person. When I just joined West Indies team, I look up to this man. But I'm speaking from that. I don't know what, since he retired, what he have against Chris Gayle, because those negative things he's been saying, within the press. I don't know if he's looking for attention, but he's getting the attention. So I'm just giving him back the attention he required, which he needs. So I can tell you personally, you can let him know that Chris Gayle, Universe Boss, have no respect for Curtly Ambrose whatsoever again. All right, I'm finished with Curtly Ambrose. I mean, we didn't have anything going, but Curtly Ambrose, I have no respect for Curtly Ambrose. I can tell you that. And anytime I see Curtly Ambrose, I would tell him that as well. Stop being negative and you support the team. We're here for a World Cup. The team actually selected. We need the past player to support us. We need that. We don't need negative energy. Other teams, other past players supporting their team. Why can't our own support us in a big tournament like this? And we actually win the tournament twice, and we're going for a third title. I don't have a problem with singling out me, but the team seeing what's happening, it's going to reflect on the team. And I am a senior player, and the player's going to come to me and say, "Listen, Chris, we saw what he said, but we know we are here with you." Still getting the support from my team.
Right.
But the past players, if they continue being negative, I am Chris Gayle, Universe Boss, is going to be disrespectful. And you're going to be disrespectful verbally in their face and within the media as well.
Do the players feel like the media in the region especially are against them? Or, can you give us an idea of what the thinking is among the players?
To be honest, you guys have your job to do. We have our job to do as well. So, if we flip the script a bit and we question you guys about your colleagues and, whatever the case is, it's an awkward position. We're not in a position to, answer those questions. And as Pollard would have said yesterday, everything's about positivity. We are very close to the tournament. So we don't want to be focusing on who's not here, why this guy is here, who's not selected. To be honest, maybe 1 week away from a big tournament. Our focus is trying to win, basically. And if we don't win, the media, the fans, they're gonna bash us. So if we can just keep things as simple as possible and just focus on what we can, whoever is selected, that's up to the selectors. Chairman of selectors, they can answer those questions. We as players, that's not our job.
Well, knock me down with a feather. Fazir Mohammed, in your long career, in long time in this business, your long career as a journalist, have you ever heard sportsmen from any country or athletes in any discipline train the rifle of their criticism at journalists in the way that we have just witnessed in that video?
Many times, George. Too many times. I don't mean to personalize it, but when I described the West Indies training session compared to the Aussies in 2015, as chalk and cheese, I was immediately banned from interviewing the West Indies team in the Boxing Day Test match in Melbourne by the then head coach Phil Simmons. And Phil Simmons is someone who I was part of the Trinidad and Tobago under 19 team for some time. I didn't really make the final 11. He was way ahead of me as far as talent, and he of course went on to the highest level. But we don't speak anymore simply for that, because it was perceived as a personal attack on him. And that is just a simple example. I've seen it many, many times where whether it's a team, whether it's an individual, they come to the conclusion that this person has something against me, is out to get me, is out to make me lose my job, is out to make me lose my pick in the team, and I need to respond to that assault. And there's very little focus on the facts of the matter, which is why I think we always need to come back to what Curtly Ambrose said. He didn't just jump up one morning in Antigua and say that. He was asked that on the Andrew Mason program, and Andrew's always going to provoke and ask the question. And Curtly Ambrose is a straight talker. And does anybody really believe that based on the numbers from Chris Gayle that he's an automatic selection in the West Indies team? Well, if you believe that, well then you don't believe in merit.
But hear me though, Fazir. Mariah Lance, I want to hear you on this, because here's the thing I'm saying. Fazir is very right to go down at a granular level to say that he's heard this already. But here's what I've never heard before. Yeah? I've never heard from a team, so you had the vice captain, you had the captain, you have a senior player, and you have the coach. It is an orchestrated, almost a relay. The baton is yours, the baton is yours, the baton is yours. Criticism of not just one journalist, because Fazir mentioned the incident with him and how Phil Simmons blacklisted him, and he was blacklisted by the West Indies team for a spell. That's one journalist and one person having a problem. I'm talking about a team coming out to say journalists without singling out one person. I've never seen this coordinated approach to criticizing the whole journalists' body from a sporting team this part of the world. And that is what, for me, is the shocking bit.
Yeah, and that's why I said at the top of the show, I noticed that there was a narrative, because I felt it strange that coach started, and I used the words that he said. And after that, then the next day, the captain came out, and it felt as if, as you said, George, orchestrated. And the point that Faz made about, being blacklisted, since I've joined the SportsMax team, I have been blocked by so many people from time to time, maybe because of your line of questioning, maybe sometimes it's not even something that I did. And I feel as if, just by sitting here, I'm guilty by association. Yes. And that's not fair, because it happens with people that I was good with back home. George, we come off an interview, I check my phone, I'm blocked.
Yes. So, thanks for your contribution, Mariah. But Lance, I'm saying, a player blacklisting a journalist or having a problem with one journalist, we've seen that many times.
Yes, which is what Fazir is.
Absolutely, and that's why we're happy he's here to give his personal experience and the quality of that experience. But I'm saying, Lance, have you seen something like this? A relay being run on the journalist body in this part of the region to say, you all are too negative, you all need to stop it or else?
Yeah, I guess from the standpoint of the sequence of responses coming from the team, I don't think I've ever seen it in pretty much the way that we've just seen it. If you listen to Kyron Pollard closely, he directly said to the Guyanese reporter who was questioning him that he constantly does this. He constantly criticizes team selection. He constantly asks about team selections and so on, which from Pollard's perspective, if I listen to Pollard, I think he's saying that he doesn't need to be doing that. But the timing of some of those questions is also something that Pollard could look at. If it happens when the team is selected, then I think those questions are a little bit more tolerable. But on the eve of a test match or of an assignment, a captain may feel as if the team has already been selected, the 15 is there now, and he just feels that those questions are irrelevant at this point, which Pollard is fine to say. But you are correct, George, from the standpoint of hearing it from Pollard, Pooran, Phil Simmons, Chris Gayle, it appears as if there was a conversation within the team to say, look, gentlemen, this is how we're going to approach things from here on in until the tournament starts. And this is going to be our stance, and that is what we are seeing playing out. But I must say that the Chris Gayle outburst to me is appalling. What Pooran said and what Pollard said I can take it. But Chris Gayle is behaving as if Curtly Ambrose had just wrecked his career. And Curtly Ambrose did not say anything that most cricket experts believe, which is that Chris Gayle is not the force of yesteryear and he is not an automatic selection. I listened to Curtly Ambrose. He said in the same narrative that Chris Gayle on his day is a destructive batsman who can take games away from the opponents. And he, from what I gathered, didn't have a problem with Gayle being in the setup. He's just saying that for the 11, he doesn't think he's automatic. What has offended Chris Gayle to the extent that he's talking about disrespecting Curtly Ambrose personally to his face when he sees him? Oh, that's appalling.
And the thing is, Sir Curtly is not just a random on the street. He's somebody that has walked the walk before and he's giving his opinion, which he's now being paid and hired to do. He's an analyst now. Yeah,
let me just say one thing more. As George said yesterday, I believe that Chris Gayle is not just responding to those comments that Ambrose made that we heard. There must be something else. Because if it is that Chris Gayle is responding solely to what Ambrose said in the Guest and Mason show, then I think Chris Gayle is completely
George,
out of whack.
You think that former Windies players shouldn't be commented on the current team?
No,
and that gives a bad energy to the team?
No, they don't. No, I don't.
And if we used to go on bad energy, how many things would happen to us?
I don't. I'm with you there. Fazir, help me, Fazir, to see if we can bring some more people along what we think is the right path here. Because, help me here, Fazir. Curtly Ambrose says, I don't think Gayle is an automatic pick. The fact of Gayle being a part of the squad is moot. He's there. Ambrose said, Fazir, automatic pick. Now, in this squad, there are a few guys who are automatic picks. Pollard, unless he's broken something, is an automatic pick. Dre Russell, if he's fit, is an automatic pick. You'd think that Nicholas Pooran is an automatic pick. And you and I and Mariah and Lance may have a few more automatic picks.
Evan Lewis for sure.
Evan Lewis, for sure, right? What Curtly Ambrose said then is that where Chris Gayle is concerned, the selection panel would have to say, all right, how is the bowling? What are the conditions? Where are we going to bat in? Do we pick Chris Gayle for this match? That's what he's saying, He's saying that the selection of Chris for the final 11 will attract and will be subject to some contemplation to go into the starting 11. But by implication, he's saying that there are some players who just go right into the team once they are fit and walking. Fazir, what can be so injurious and inflammatory about that?
But that's why I made the point earlier, Mariah and gentlemen, that we live in an environment where critical analysis is considered hostility. Critical analysis means that you're looking at strengths and weaknesses. In the environment that we live in now, whether you're the universe boss, whether you're Dre Russ, whether you're this, that, or the other, whether you're the greatest thing since sliced bread, nothing even remotely analytical is entertained because that is perceived to be negative. And the thing is that I understand trying to justify, the veracity of Curtly Ambrose's comment, but the point is that it really almost doesn't matter because this is a time that we live in where we find ourselves sucked into this vortex where you buy into this narrative of bigging people up all the time. And if you don't pause to say, well, look, what about this? What about that? That is automatically, the merits, the substance doesn't matter. Who are you to pause? Who are you to dare to pause? Why would you hesitate from drinking the Kool-Aid when everyone else is drunk by it? What is wrong with you? And you mentioned that whether it's a team ethos, remember, it was the president of Cricket West Indies who said 2 weeks ago that it's time for us to get on board and with the good vibes and so on. What are they hiding? What are they hiding? Have they, and you all can tell me, and I'll happily back down to your greater knowledge, have they adequately answered the apparent inconsistencies of the fitness regime, the medical reports? Have we been given clarity on that to the extent we could say, I may not be entirely happy, but I understand where you all are coming
Let's take the break for zero and come right back, Mariah. Let's take the break and come right
Yeah,
back.
because those are some really important points that we need to pick up. Still to come on the show, we have Just the Facts, centered on the Universe boss, Christopher Henry Gayle, and the WIPA Secretary, Wayne Lewis, will stop by to clarify criticisms leveled at the trade union body. And later, we preview the Reggae Boys against Honduras in their sixth match in the final round of CONCACAF World Cup qualifiers. Plus, Chris Gayle says Curtly Ambrose should stop with the negative energy ahead of the T20 World Cup. What say you? Send us a voice note to 876-564-7661 to be played later on the show today.